Vault replication, tips, tricks, and best practices. First and second rule of Vault replication. Rule number 1. Stick to the Vault system requirements. Rule number 2. Stick to the replication requirements documented in the Vault online help. When a new problem is presented to Autodesk support, every support specialist will check the system meets the system requirements to the letter. If unsupported patches have been installed, Autodesk support may ask for the issue to be reproduced in a supported environment, depending on the circumstances. A best effort approach is always adopted by Autodesk support, but that could ultimately result in not being able to address the issue until it goes back to the supported state, and that could require restoring the last known good back up before the problem occurred. And the replication requirements are: for servers not in the same domain, add a local Windows account, not a domain account, for each agent at the appropriate nodes. Use the same name and password at each node, for example, Autodesk Rep. You'll need a shared folder on the publisher where replication snapshots are stored and shared to remote SQL servers. You'll also need a Windows account on the publisher that has read-write permissions to the snapshot share. You'll need a Windows account on the subscriber that has read permission to the publisher's snapshot share folder. Servers participating in the replication environment must be able to resolve remote servers by NetBIOS name. A NetBIOS name is a 15-character name, and it could contain alphabetical characters or numerical characters and a very short list of special characters. If you can avoid special characters completely, that would be better. SQL and HTTP ports need to be open in the firewalls for communication between servers. An SQL server replication must be enabled. If SQL server is not, if SQL server replication is not enabled, it's possible to run it or rerun the SQL Server instance installation package again to modify the installation of the SQL Server. All of the other requirements can be scripted, and we will show you the example scripts that you could use at the end of this presentation. So those are the requirements. There are also some recommendations as well. Autodesk recommends that servers are in the same domain or two-way trusted domains. Servers are assigned static IP addresses. Use one domain user account for replication and snapshot access. Otherwise, you are managing multiple accounts. And SQL is also assigned a static port. Other recommendations are ensure each Windows server uses the same language, operating system, regional settings, date and time format. Ensure each SQL server uses the same language edition of SQL, the release edition, and the patch build level, and also make sure that the collation is the same. When installing the instance, always set the SQL Server agent to automatic. SQL replication uses the SQL Server agent to operate. If this is not set to automatic, when the server is restarted, the SQL Server agent will need to be manually started before replication will work. We have experience of some customers failing to set this to automatic, and then they've restarted the machine, and then they haven't noticed that it's not set to automatic, and then they've gone outside of the retention period and it's caused some problems. Always make sure it's set to manual. You can check that it's set to manual after the installation by going into the services console and finding the SQL Server agent for that instance, and then right-click that SQL Server agent, select Properties, and on the General tab, select the startup type and set it to automatic. When you're setting up SQL replication or Vaults Connected Workgroups for the first time, always loosen as much security as you possibly can whilst you're setting it up. Get it working, apply the company security policies after you are sure that everything is working. And if there are multiple layers of security, so you could be talking about firewalls and security permissions, usernames and passwords and things like that. Make sure that you change one thing at a time. So if it causes a problem, then you know which one of those things that you've changed has caused the problem. Ensure both the publisher and the subscriber are patched to the same level. We mentioned this before. We even show during the lab session what happens when you have different patch levels on between the publisher or the subscriber. You get an error message saying that they both have to be the same level. After replication of a Vault database has started, it's possible to have different patch levels, but it's not supported or advised. Unexpected problems might occur if patch levels between SQL servers is not consistent. So the check to make sure that they are both the same level only occurs when you're setting it up for the first time. Avoid unsupported SQL updates. Observe the Vault system requirements. Autodesk does testing with the latest SQL updates available during the development cycle of each release of Vault. Autodesk does no retrospective testing on an already released release of Vault. Microsoft can choose to release a new update whenever they want. Autodesk has no insight or control into what those updates might do. But our experience is that problems are rare. But if something was to happen, if their unsupported update was going to cause a problem, Autodesk again is going to apply a best effort support approach. But at some point we might turn around and request that the problem is reproduced in a supported environment. Ensure connectivity before installing ADMS. So ensure the connectivity between the publisher and the subscriber using SQL Server Management Studio before enabling connected workgroups, because just installing Vault Server is not going to suddenly fix a connectivity problem between the publisher and the subscriber. So Autodesk support get involved in a lot of situations where customers are finding that they are not able to set up connected work groups in the first place. They're getting an error message saying that the publisher could not communicate with the subscriber. And then when we try and connect using SQL Server Management Studio from the publisher to the subscriber or the subscriber to the publisher, then there is a networking or an IT problem that needs to be solved. So make sure that SQL Server Management Studio on the publisher can talk to the subscriber, and make sure that SQL Server Management Studio on the subscriber can talk to the publisher. And do that before you install Vault Server. This is a script to open the firewall. I'm not going to go through this. I'm just going to go through all of them just to show you that they are possible. These are the ones that I've used to set up Vault Server many times, and I know they work. So you can take screenshots or you can try and reproduce these yourself. And this this is a script to create a SQL shared folder, and that is that everyone has full control. And I fully understand that for most production environments, granting everybody full control of that folder is not desirable in any way, but this goes back to my point about get it up and running and working first, and then you can lock it down later. Alternate snapshot method. Use the alternate snapshot method for larger databases, or if there is high latency between SQL servers. Thank you very much.